G'day and welcome to Stream of Chaos. My name is Dave and I will be your keeper of arcane lore for this session of Call of Cthulhu. So today we're beginning chapter 3 of A Time to Harvest, and I'm going to give a brief recap of the previous chapters before we jump into it. But if you want to check out the earlier episodes, they are all available on the Chaosium YouTube, along with a little host of interviews and insights. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to join us live, we do stream each Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific. We're also going to be hosting a giveaway today, which I will now hand over to Jim to explain.
Absolutely. So, as Dave mentioned, today we are going to be doing a giveaway where we are offering a PDF copy of A Time to Harvest, the fantastic campaign that we've been playing here. If you would like to enter the giveaway, you just need to type !harvest into the chat and you will be entered in. We will do the drawing at the end of the episode. Now, there is an alert which will confirm that you have been entered, but since that has a limit on how many times it can say, I've heard you, I promise you it is hearing you, and you will have been heard even if you didn't actually get the confirmation. But if you want to make sure, you can wait a couple of seconds and type it in again, and it will hit the confirmation again so that you can be sure that you've been heard. As I said, we'll do the drawing at the end, and we will be messaging you on Twitch. And remember, if you are a subscriber to the channel, then the giveaway is weighted in your favor, so you have additional chances to win. So if you've been considering subscribing, now is a good time.
Hot dog, that was about time to take a sip of coffee. All right, thank you, James. Yeah, make sure you type !harvest to enter the giveaway. We'll do the drawing later. Thank you to Roll20 and Sirenscape for being great tools which we use to improve our games. And without further ado, a very brief recap. So I'm going to kind of summarize chapters 1 and 2. So it's going to be broad strokes. So over the 1930 summer break, our 3 Miskatonic student investigators joined an interdisciplinary expedition to Cobb's Corners in Vermont. Their objective was to collate local folklore and to conduct mineral studies in the surrounding foothills. Over the short-lived expedition's duration, the investigators learned about the town's suspiciously high death rate, witnessed strange lights in the woods, discovered an impossible mineral, were involved in a murder, and survived a stormy night when almost all other students were lost. Yeah, that's you, Chaz. They returned.
You can't prove anything.
Not for lack of trying. They returned to Arkham after a brief interlude, began the new school year at Miskatonic University. As school began, they learned that they were on very thin ice with both the campus and the police, but to even the scales, they were joined by Josephine Johnston, a fellow student looking for her missing friend who helped them on their mission. Over the course of what was only one disastrous week, our student investigators saw the missing students return, realized they were not themselves, and began to delve into the history of Arkham and the Cthulhu mythos. The missing students were being commanded by an alien race known as the Migo, the fungi from Yuggoth, and they were here to destroy evidence of their existence at the university. Their 2 principal targets were Professor Learmonth and his mineral research in the Science Annex, and the Orne Library, which houses one of the most comprehensive mythos repositories in the world. At the culmination of a week's actions, the imposters and the investigators came head-to-head at the Fall Dance. Under the effect of drugs or magic, a significant portion of the guests, including our own Katie Wilkes, flew into a blood-curdling rage. As chaos descended, the imposters attacked the Science Annex and the library, while Katie carved into her own twin sister, Violet. Some of the documents in the Science Annex were saved, and Professor Harold, one of the imposters, was killed, adding another notch in Chaz's belt. In the Orne Library, Dr. Armitage and Professor Morgan, members of like a strange occult society, were found killed, and the investigators struggled on the edge of a knife to prevent the imposters from destroying or fleeing with the powerful tomes inside. Chaz and Seb were incapacitated by strange electrical weapons, but Joe and Katie were able to kill 2 imposters, Terrence Laszlo and Clarissa Thurber, rest in peace, and then knock Jason Trent unconscious. As the chaos outside began to quiet and the police sirens approached, our investigators traveled to Seb's parents' incognito apartment with Jason Trent, a bag full of mythos tomes, and their injuries. Here they recover, and our story resumes. Art, did you want to clarify something?
Okay, I was good up until that last bit where I was like, fucking Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, mate. Just like, immediately. We've got a bag of something, and it's gonna be great.
Who knows what's inside?
No, I was gonna say, Katie and Joe were responsible for the death of Laszlo. They were responsible for the unconsciousness of Thurber.
Oh, yeah.
Seb tipped her over a balcony.
Oh, 100%. I'm hanging each kill on everyone.
Great.
You're
Cool.
a little way heavy on your conscious.
Nah.
Dave, that was a great recap. It pretty much matches all of my notes. But maybe you just want to post in Discord, just copy and paste your summaries of Discord, so that those of us who don't take as good notes.
The others, yeah, sure.
You don't have shit like this in front of you at all times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and tag Jim as I post it. I did miss click and write Jackson. That's weird. There we go.
Odd.
All right, awesome. So as we resume, it is you guys fled the Miskatonic campus as the police surrounded the area and began to walk in. Over the coming days, students will be interrogated, ask questions about what happened, and they'll begin to delve into the answers to this horrendous dance. To be clear, people died. There were several casualties in the bloodlust, and amongst them is the found body of Professor Learmonth, who was definitely under curious circumstances. He is handed over to the police because he was found with his skull opened and his brain surgically removed. Of the imposters, you know that several are dead or in your care. Only 2 are missing: William Noakes, who you've previously spoken to and claimed to be a man called Henry Akeley, and Louis Gibbons, the sort of stoner fellow who was doing a lot of the driving for the team. Presumably they have made their escape because there's no mention of them in papers or anything. For the first day or 2, it seems like you've kind of coasted unawares, but after a little bit of time, there will be a call for each of you to come in and present yourselves to the police for further questioning, because you were tied to previous events and you seem to have gone AWOL, so they just want to know where you are. You've all gathered in Seb's apartment, and while Joe made her escape, leaving in the dark one night with no message left behind, only an empty pantry, Jason Trent has been bound and stored in one of the side rooms. He is in critical condition. He is quite unwell. He was clobbered unconscious, and he is not going to die, would be Katie's read, but it could be a little time before he wakes up and is able to answer any questions. You sort of hunkered down, and a couple times when you stuck your head out the door, seems like no one's here at the moment, but when you go towards like train stations and things, there are posters with your faces on them. Seems like you're a little bit cornered. How do you spend the week? And if each of you could introduce your investigators, kind of describe them in this space and how they're acting kind of cooped up. Art, do you want to begin?
Hi, I'm Art, and I'm playing Sebastian McCarthy, and if you don't know my name yet, you will. Sebastian is charming and affable and generous to his friends. He is dressed stylishly and walks with a silver-topped black cane, which has the beginnings of some, like, etching around the wood towards the top, and and I don't think he's got the tools to do the actual silver pommel itself, but it's currently like just gently being etched into this beautiful very fine ebony wood that this is made out of. We find Seb in his parents' like library sitting area, which has a window that like overlooks the street front, which he is decidedly not looking through at this moment, but it gives him a lovely amount of light to flip through one of the very heavy, slightly ominous looking tomes that he has been making his way through. You see him like scribbling notes on a little flip book that's open next to him. Also to a table, like a little side table, there is a little silver box and a glass of water. At one point, Seb kind of like freezes, and you can kind of see tension in his shoulders and neck, and his eyes go a little glassy. He reaches over and grabs the container, pulls out a paper sachet and empties some powder into the water, swirls it, downs it, makes a face of maybe disgust, maybe pain, maybe annoyance. It's hard to tell. And then he turns back to his book as though nothing happened.
Awesome. Speaking of the books, you helped yourselves to a number of fairly powerful and occult tomes when you relieved them or saved them from the Orn library. Have you taken any precautions with storing them, or are they still in the sort of sweaty gym duffel bag that they were jammed into during the escape?
No. So my parents, Irene and Amos, are both doctors. One of them is a doctor of medicine, one is a doctor of psychology, and they would have access to various medical supplies.
Yep.
Which is why this is a good place for any injured investigators to rest. And those would be secured behind in some kind of like safe or secure room. That would most likely be where the books are being stored when they're not in use.
Yeah.
Sebastian has also taken the precaution that the room he is in, the door is locked. When he's in there on his own, because he has a vague recollection that they weren't allowed to look at these books without supervision. And he's gone, not really sure. That seems, I haven't been affected by this thus far, but precaution is still helpful. And the key is kept in the top drawer of a desk in this room, in a sheet of paper that, like, when it's opened up says, "My name is Sebastian McCarthy. My parents are Irene and Amos. This is not the way out." And then inside there is a key, which he will pull out and like use to unlock as he leaves.
Yeah. Awesome.
So someone in chat's gonna have to write that scenario 10 years later, uncovering the old McCarthy apartment.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Next, Jackson, do you want to introduce Chaz?
Terrible time to take a sip of coffee. Hey, that's me. I'm Jackson. I'm playing Chaz Dedrick, who's here to kick ass and take names, and he's all out of names. Look how that applied, and that surprised me how well that worked. He has been spending his time cooped up in the apartment, lifting, getting swole.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because there's nothing in front of him to punch, unfortunately. And that's gotten him out of all tricky situations so far. And until something presents itself to be punched, he's just gonna work on himself. He's found all of the bodyweight exercises he can do in this tiny apartment just to keep himself fit and ready for when the cops inevitably bust down the door and he has to take out 3 of them on his own. But yeah, there's not much he can do. He's got all this kind of nervous energy, and all he can do is what he knows, and what he knows is working out. This is actually probably the most he's worked out in a long time, because he wasn't a particularly good athlete. He had that natural talent, but he never put the effort in. Whereas I think this is the motivation that he needed all this time.
A tiny disaster and several deaths. That's all it took.
Yeah.
Are you more
Going well.
concerned? Is Chaz more concerned about threats from outside or within? There's the police on the street, but there's also Jason, Trent in a locked room, and Sebastian's been acting stranger every day.
He's more concerned about his parents, because they're not going to be angry. They're just going to be disappointed. Because he is acutely aware that his parents kind of put him out in bail when the sheriff's deputy framed him for murder. And the conditions of the bail was that he had to check in with that detective, and he hadn't been doing that. But really his strategy there is just keep working out until a solution presents itself.
Kind of, if there's nothing in front of you, then you can't do anything about it anyway.
Yeah, but that's what's driving his anxiety right now.
Okay, all makes sense. So Chaz is working out, and James, you want to introduce Katie?
Terrible time to take a sip of water. No, that was planned. Yes, I am Jim. I am playing Katie Wilkes, the nerd with a heart of somewhat sneakiness, and who can throw themselves into a little bit of stealth, a little bit of action, a little bit of criminal activity when the need arises, although their natural state is being a bookworm. Katie has darted down and I think taken over one of the drawing rooms downstairs, moved all the tables into the corner, and has started creating a giant game of catch cradle with all the red tape, putting up everything that we know, trying to create a headquarters sort of vibe and collating all of the information. It's mostly therapeutic. I don't think there's a lot that we need to sort of go over. We kind of know where we are, but it's good to get it all in one place. She's also expanding her journal, which I think that she's probably like rebound extra pages into it, and it's got all these like bits and pieces hanging off it. That's kind of the casual thing, but 2 more quick points. First of all, she's tried to figure out exactly what happened to her sister. Now, we know that Katie grabbed a punch bowl and whacked Violet on the head hard enough that she stopped moving. Whether or not she was dead, I don't think we know, but Katie will start to try and make phone calls and figure out things, calling hospitals, well, I don't think that she'd even know if Violet was injured at first, so she'd probably make a couple of calls to contacts that she had and try and figure out what's going on there.
Can I ask a question? What's Katie's recollection of the night of being under the influence?
Fairly blurry. It has a foggy amnesia effect to it as well, and Katie basically...
If Katie remembers beating the snot out of Violet.
I don't think she does, but I think she has a dark idea that she did something very, very wrong, and she's not exactly sure what it is, and the cuts on her hand from the glass that she was holding is probably an all too present reminder of that.
Yeah, and I mean, as the others could have filled you in, they saw you fly into the rage. They don't know the ties to Violet yet, but there's like that unshakable feeling of guilt that something went wrong. So you guys have a beat or two as time is going to pass here, and what I want to get from each of you is sort of like, what are you throwing yourselves into? What are the actions that you want to take? Katie, you mentioned looking into seeing where Violet is. Seb, reading some of the tomes that you've got. Yeah, what are you guys interested in pursuing?
I'll jump in quickly and say that I'm, after setting up my therapy evil lair, goody lair, I will try and track down where Violet is, and that's going to be the main action that I take, apart from collating notes and things like that. But I think that's mostly flavor, making sure I have my ducks in order. I do want to learn how to thump a little bit, and since Chaz is around exercising, figured Chaz might teach me to throw a punch, since I wish I had that ability when we were fighting against Clarissa and not against Trent, Clarissa and Laszlo. Yeah. So that will be a useful skill to pick up.
Is Chaz open to some tutorage?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll go easy on you. But yeah.
Do you think Chaz is a good teacher? I'm genuinely curious.
No, not at all. He's not even a good fighter. Well, actually, he's got 85 in Brawl, but I don't know how that happened, because
good, dude.
He's just like a scrapper. He doesn't have like martial arts training. He just, got in fights at school and, enjoyed stalking the alleys late at night. But no, he doesn't have the theory, so I don't think he's a great teacher, but that's okay. And
apparently you don't need the theory, because, 85, 90 is like you're world renowned, so you're a pretty damn good fighter.
But he also doesn't want to hurt Katie. That's the main thing. He doesn't know how to teach a girl how to fight, because...
I don't think Katie really knows how to learn, so I think there's probably like a lot of awkwardness in which, both of us start going too easy and then flop to like too hard, and some hard punches are thrown and some feelings are hurt and some noses are too, but eventually we'll find like a middle ground.
I think also that Katie, you're a very theory-driven person in books, right? So you try to get Chaz to explain like why we do this and write down like, the steps.
Because it hurts real good.
Get a bat, beat
you
him
make
with
this
it.
shape, you can try to fracture a rib without leaving a bruise. That way, you can deny everything.
Okay, that feels like a different skill, but I was just gonna say, Seb, is there like an old, martial arts or like Renaissance martial arts manual, some kind of HEMA, something that I can find somewhere in your family's book collection?
No, but there are a not insignificant number of anatomy textbooks.
Ooh, that's kind of cool.
My mother is a general practitioner and is...
Your mother's a doctor? You never said.
I'm pretty sure I've mentioned that.
Oh yeah, maybe once or twice.
Yes, there are a non-zero number of anatomy textbooks. Enjoy.
I might take some of those, and also if I can just add one more thing to this ever-increasing pile of stuff, would I be able to make a medicine check to make sure that Trent doesn't expire in our captivity.
Sure. I mean, I'm assuming that you're checking in on him semi-regularly, but go ahead and make that, and you might get some extra information, or possibly you can speed up his recovery.
Excellent. As we have just established, Dave, there is a non-zero number of medical and anatomy textbooks in this house. May I have a bonus die?
Yeah, it's also a fairly routine checkup. Yeah, go for it.
Hell yeah.
Someone wants to increase their medicine skill.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna increase their medicine skill.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll take that. Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm kind of curious to learn what the circumstances of Trent's security are. I guess, you know, how bounty is, but he was chased down and clobbered unconscious by Joe. He probably has like fractures, a number across his arms and things, and he lost a not insignificant amount of blood, but fortunately the McCarthys did have, you know, something on store, and Katie, you were able to, you know, figure out his blood type or whatever. Basically, he's like, you know, indefinitely secured there. That said, it could be days, it could be weeks before he recovers. You think it's unlikely that he'll pass. He's being fed. He's, you know, fairly secure. What would be best for him would be a hospital. You have no doubt of that. Taking him in would see him much safer. But you don't think he'll expire here. He will eventually come to. However, with that is just from your care. With that success, you find he has a scar on his head underneath his hairline. As you're going around and inspecting the wounds that Joe gave him, you're changing the bandages one morning, and you trace along it, and he has a long scar all around his head, sort of actually go up this way, so it's kind of under the hairline. And it is similar to how Chaz describes finding Professor Learmonth.
Is that going to require a sanity check?
Yeah, go ahead and make a sanity.
All right.
Cool.
Okay. Haha, fail.
Take a point.
Actually, I really want my sanity over my luck. I will give you.
Can't luck.
Oh, can't luck sanity. Of course you can't.
Go ahead and
Thank
take
you.
a point.
All right.
Only in pulp.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Apart from that, you call around after Violet. You will eventually, one of the papers comes out, and it talks about this disastrous event and the, you know, request from the police for anyone with evidence to come forward. It also has a list. There is an obituary, which talks about a funeral service or something that's going to be scheduled. You know, it's basically like, at this point, they haven't confirmed anything, but you know, they're talking about it. And some of the confirmed student deaths, none that you really recognize, kids that you might be familiar with, but Violet is not amongst them. Buried in the information, though, you will find that Violet has been taken to the hospital, the St. Helens, I think it was, or maybe St. Mary's, the hospital on campus and the only hospital in Arkham. It does not list her condition. You do not know if it was because she got a scrape during the thing or if she is in critical care. You just don't know. But as you see her name there is that like dark pit of guilt that just wells up a little bit inside you.
I have a few extra things I might do, but I'll hand over the others first for a while, since I've taken quite a few actions in
Awesome.
quick succession.
Seb or Chaz?
I looked it up. It's St. Mary's.
Thank you.
There you go. It's on the map. Seb is spending his time recovering and reading. That is kind of the extent of his action. He has begun the process of, he's trying to work out the correct form for the Elder Sign. Mm-hmm. And if he is able to perfect that, that is the beginning carvings on his staff are a kind of patchwork, sort of patterned version of it, so that it sort of disappears into like, oh, this looks like a lovely carving. It also has purpose. So that's what he's sort of working on at the moment. He will have gone and read the book that Katie read, which I believe was that the
Narcotic Manuscripts.
Yeah.
No, there was two that you
Of Evil Sorceries done in New England was the other one.
That's the one.
Katie read?
So that's the D6,
that's
I
right.
believe. Yeah.
That's
so Seb now has 2 books. And depending on the amount of time, he will make a dent in nameless cults.
Okay, awesome. Going to the beginning then, as you go over your notes about this magical symbol, this elder sign, you find some discrepancies between your design and the original. You think that there's some mistakes in how it was originally written. It seems to be mistranslated in places, and you believe that it was interpreted incorrectly. Do you want to go ahead and give me an intelligence roll?
Oh,
Okay.
good.
All right.
Good.
With that, you are going to be able to confirm that you had, in fact, made a mistake. The original was correct, and you can adjust it. You can remove the asterisk next to your spell, and while that does take some time, you now understand it, and you can attempt to cast it. So, casting a spell, it doesn't take too long, but it is a sacrifice of power to inscribe it into something. You need to give up of yourself to this mark. It's not the sort of thing that you want to be casting everywhere. If you want it to have real, you can just carve it into things as a more like a symbolic shape, but to really invoke it with power, to be able to cast back mythos, you need to sacrifice power to carve it into something.
Do I know how much ish?
A significant portion, it is 10 power.
Ah, that's not that bad. I have 80.
Yeah, but it is a permanent.
What is it? Is a permanent thing, or is it like a? Oh,
That's right.
well, yeah.
This is a mark that you carry with you. There are ways to increase your power, by using magic and delving into the mythos, but it is a fairly significant sacrifice. So inscribing it on something that you carry with you almost permanently, like a cane, is an idea. Otherwise, it can also be used to nullify other artifacts and things like that.
I think I will hold on to the fact that I can do this thing. I will begin the process of creating the symbol on the cane and getting that because I feel like that for me is both a meditative thing, and it's also going to take some time to do in a way that I like, or do in a way well, because Seb is not skilled in carving, so he is going to take his time with this. But for flavor's sake, is it possible for me to do the sign and then actually imbue it at a later stage?
Yes.
So that
That's fine.
Yeah, cool. So that's what Seb's working on, is let me get the design, the symbolism, everything correct as a talisman more than anything, and then we'll see whether or not he decides to drop his power to 70 and imbue that, or go looking for ways to up his power, because that's gonna happen.
Yep, 100%. Okay, so you can carve it into the cane, and then you can imbue it later. That's totally fine. Apart from that, you can begin to read the books, and we'll come back to you there. Chaz, what are you doing as the days pass and the calls from police begin to become more earnest?
Probably getting a little bit paranoid, and spending some time on the roof.
On the roof.
And the roofs of adjacent buildings, watching and waiting and staking out. Making sure that the safe house is as safe as it supposedly is, and getting a feel for the city, Basically being Batman.
Yeah, hell yeah. Are you leaving the safe house and moving around? Basically, do you want to go for stealth to try and move through the streets and get a read on things or look into stuff, or do you want to maybe just stay in the house and try spot hidden to see if people are watching you? What's the objective?
Probably stay close to the roof. Probably just stay in the close by, not too far at all. Mostly just on the roof, and seeing what the character of the city is like these days.
In that case, more local information, but possibly safer. Do you want to go ahead and give me a spot hidden roll?
I would love to, but I won't.
Oh.
Okay. From you sort of peek through curtains, and eventually you will let yourself out. There's a roof up to the highest point that can be opened, like a little balcony from the higher levels, and up there you can scramble up on top of shingles and take a look at the city. It sprawls out beyond you, and you are now in autumn, so the leaves have turned and fallen. The school semester has not begun again, and this week at least has been delayed, and it seems to be almost indefinite. Below you can see people going about their lives, and it all seems a little bit too mundane, except for occasionally you will see police cars passing not far from you. There's definitely still more activity than normal. You can't help but shake the feeling that people down below are watching your house. You see someone like walking past, and they seem to linger a little bit too long on the road, but then move across. Nothing concrete, but enough to kind of like fuel your paranoia a little bit further.
It is fueled.
We need to get you a notepad and a camera rear window style so you can be going over everything.
It'd just be like, bird, dog, cool
Got
car.
bored. Got bored.
Hell yeah.
What's in kitchen? Damn it, Joe.
Back inside after a few days, you're beginning to get a little, you're all kind of like just trapped inside. You've burned through a lot of the like nicer food, and a couple days ago one of you made a run down to the grocery to like refuel some things. You did kind of incognito and reloaded the kitchen, but inside you heard people talking about the recent full dance and the disaster of it all, just this chaos, and that some students still haven't come forward. There's still this ongoing investigation. Back inside, the days pass along. Seb and Katie, you both previously expressed interest in studying tomes. You have some time. This is a good opportunity to do it if you want to. Do you want to read any more of these books? I know, Seb, you said you did. I know additionally, Chaz, if you want to, they don't necessarily require rolls.
I think those books are largely diving down into avenues that aren't necessarily associated with what we wanted. I've seen already a little bit of what happens to people who lean too far into this kind of stuff. The way I see it is you kind of get one avenue that you can go deeply down, and if you play it right and if you're careful, you can actually reach the end and find out the truth. But if you start to sway even so slightly and peek down in ways that isn't your avenue, that's when you go mad, and that's when you never reach the end. I've read enough, and I think that the current thing that we need to do is we need to get out of this exact situation. I would like to make a couple of phone calls, but I will not be reading terms.
Okay, all right. So no terms for Katie, but Sarah. But you want to? Who do you want to call?
I would like to start calling the hospital and start impersonating, inquiring doctors and lying my way through to try and get an idea on Violet's condition.
Okay. Do you want to give me a fast talk roll if you're trying to just be kind of like coy about it and weave your way through?
That would be my ideal. Here we go. That's a success.
Okay. You call up, it's only the one hospital, again, St. Mary's, and when you call in, they are flat out caring for people. They don't have a lot of time for you, and it takes a while before you can track it down. You learn that Violet is in very bad condition. They basically say if you're not family or someone who can care for her, we can't tell you much more at the moment, but she has been through surgery. They won't tell you if she's like, they won't say the outlook necessarily, but you get the impression that it's very severe.
Okay, all right. That probably sends me for a bit of a spin, and I will retreat back to my safe place of the conspiracy room and start hanging up more pictures on the walls.
Okay, all right. Seb, you wanted to study some of the books. Which one did you want to look at?
I think there's only 2 left, and one of them I believe is in Latin, which I can't read.
These are also, remember, these are just initial readings that you've done. The extended readings is where you really begin to understand what's inside. And the extended readings take longer.
Okay. I think, if I remember, so I did not really want to do any further reading into the one I read initially, which was something fun.
Cult of Ghouls.
Yeah, that one. Because I cannot for necromancy right now. There was no healing in there. I give 0 shits. I'm interested in doing an extended reading on the Old England stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because that has information about my family's history.
It seems to have some ties, yeah.
Are there further sanity penalties for further readings, or is it just the initial?
Yes, I think you take the penalty again at the end. I will confirm that, though.
Okay.
Actually, I'll confirm it. picking it up now.
I like to begin doing a thorough reading of the Old England, and if depending on how long all of this takes, I would like to do an initial reading of the Nameless Cults.
Okay, so you're going to stay on Old England one for the time being, though? Or do you want to nip across to do the initial reading of another one and then come back? Noting that Nameless Cult seems to be a bit of a heavier...
I guess no, the reason that I would like to do an initial reading on the Nameless Cults is because I don't... Oh, actually, this might depend on whether or not the sanity happens twice or once.
Yeah, let me check that.
So... For simplicity's sake, let's just say he's doing an extended reading on the Old England, New England, whatever one.
Sure.
And then I can talk to you about that on the stream. We'll save some time.
Awesome. In that case, go ahead and
New
give me an English language skill. Now this is just for how quickly you can get through it, because you have focused time here. So you can go a little bit faster than the standard pace. Okay, awesome. So with a success, this takes 4 weeks to fully study and understand, but you can go ahead and reduce it by a week and a half for only spending about a week of time. So you're progressing a little bit faster than standard. Additionally, as you're reading through this book, you're you're searching for further references to your family. You will find that there was an ancestor of your father's who again was present at the trial and execution of a claimed witch called Goody Fowler. She was hung on Hangman's Hill, and there is also references to bribery amongst them, or what you would now see as bribery. Throughout the text, it's claims that it's more just like gifts that were given to all of the judges, and from the text's perspective, they're legitimate and they were just sort of part of it. But from here, like, you can draw your own conclusions. It seems as though they were bribed to come to a conclusion. There's also no concrete evidence that the woman was a witch, despite this book being an occult and esoteric tome, which does have references to real mythos and magic.
And is the implication that it was my ancestor that did the bribing, or just the bribery happened?
He received bribery and was on the jury that sent her to the gallows.
Okay. Getting flavors of good omens in this.
Additionally, Chaz, on one of the days, as you're seated up in the kitchen and Katie's across from you, Seb's locked himself in the room again and is continuing to study. The newspaper is being picked through by Katie, who's looking for information. You've taken to dismissing some of the sections as irrelevant. Katie sort of like unfurls one of the reams and passes it down. And Chaz, you spot an image of a woman that you recognize, your mother, photographed in front of the police station, and a published plea has been printed, written by your mother and documented by Detective Luther Harding, where she calls for you to make yourself known. She says that she's not, she knows you weren't involved in this, and she's not worried about the fine. All of that can be sorted out, but as long as you are hiding, she can't help you. Your father is coming down as well, and if you'd rather speak to him, that's totally fine, but if you could just please let us know where you are so that we can help you. This is printed about 4 or 5 days after the event.
Yeah, I feel bad. I would probably allow Katie to see it.
I don't know what to... I mean, you can't just go in now. I mean, with everything that's on you, what's happening here, it's not your fault. You know, it's I think that if you told them everything, if you could actually sit them down and show them the proof, show them what was really going on,
then they might get me locked up.
I know, but so you can't. But if you could, I'm sure that what do you think they'd tell you? Say that you could actually tell them everything, show them everything. If they knew what you knew, what do you think they'd tell you to do?
I'm home.
Really?
Get away from it all. Get back to the steel mill, you know? learn how to run it. Leave all this stuff behind. They only sent me here because they thought it'd, you know, help the family business survive in the new century or whatever.
Is that what you want?
I don't know. Guess no one's ever asked me that.
Sounds like you've been doing what they wanted for a while, and you've kind of been doing what people thought you should, even stuff that you thought you should, even if you didn't really want it for a while.
But it's what I'm supposed to do, right? I mean, Pa's not gonna live forever. Need someone to take over. And there are, you know, folks at the mill, they need the job. They need to support their families. It's not just about me, is it?
It's a good way of thinking, you know. I admire you for taking care of all those people and wanting to take care of your family and everybody else. I don't get along well with my family sometimes, and I think that you do is so wonderful. But if we don't deal with what's happening here, then there might not be, you know, you might end up dying before your father, and that'd be a real tragedy.
Yeah. But if I die fighting aliens trying to take over the world, then that's not a bad use of a life, I reckon.
I reckon so. That's what I'm saying. And yeah, I don't know your parents, but I think that if they instilled you with the kind of values that you're describing now, you know, care for others, protection, wanting to do right by people, there's no greater right you can do than being willing to risk your life to save the world, right?
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah, I think we gotta see this thing through.
we need you here, you know? There's no way we could, I don't know, break through doors without you.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at smashing doors. Alright, so what do? You can't show up to the police station, can I? It's just gonna make things harder for us.
What about a letter? What about a message? One piece of information we get across to them. A phone call, a letter, something anonymous. Send it through a source, somebody we can trust.
Yeah, I could do that. I can write a letter. What does it say? Yeah, I'm fine, but I gotta do something. I don't know. What are they gonna believe?
I guess you choose to tell them the truth, or maybe you sell them a lie. Maybe you say something that they'd like to hear. Maybe you tell them you fell in love and you've run off or something.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Okay. Well, then you got to go with the truth. You got to write down. You got to write down that you can't come back. You're sorry, but you're okay. And then I don't know. You said that you want to get a message delivered on the sly. I mean, you've got contacts in the mob now. I mean, that'd work, right?
I mean, maybe. I could just send a letter. Can't trace a letter, can they?
I guess not. Maybe they can figure out the post box, but go at night and deliver it somewhere not near the safe house.
Yeah, maybe. You think I can say that it's about the jokers that framed me up at Cops Corners? It's not safe for me to come home. Not safe for me to come back because I gotta deal with them.
I don't know, Chaz. I think that's up to you.
All right, I'll figure it out. Give me that pen.
Okay. What do you write? What are you sending?
Hey, it's Chaz. I'm all right. I'm not hurt. But I think there's some people still trying to hurt me. And I don't want to put no one else in danger. So I gotta straighten this out. But I'm okay. And I got friends. And I'm gonna get out of this. So just chill, alright? Be cool. Cheers.
With a lot of A's. And then you are going to anonymously send this into the police.
Yeah. Well, addressed to my mother.
Sure. But at the police station.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, you could just send it. You could just send it to your folks' house. Like it'll get there eventually.
They're in Arkham, though.
Yeah.
They're from Boston.
Yeah, true.
It would take a while and it'd be
As you
rerouted
can
a bunch.
tell by the
Flawless accent.
still the impeccable accent.
Okay. You write the letter, and sign it, fold it over, and consider exactly how you're going to address and send this. When, from the other room where Trent is being held, Katie's checking up on him, and Katie, you see his eyes flicker open. He begins to look around. You get him water, some food and things, and then by the end of the day, by the time the rest of you would be eating dinner normally, he seems to be well enough to be questioned. You've already made it clear to him the position that he's in, and he seems reasonably talkative, all things considered. What do the three of you want to do?
I reckon this is your department, Seb. I mean, you seem like you had the most you wanted to say to him. I definitely think we can. He's got some questions that we want to answer, but I'm also worried about what liability he brings to us, not just in terms of keeping someone here, but I mean, we know they might be able to see through each other's eyes. I reckon we keep him here for as little time as possible. After we've got what we need, we blindfold him and dump him in front of a police station somewhere and drive away.
I've heard worst ideas.
Not sure how comfortable I feel handing over someone who knows our location and what we're doing to the police, but I agree that he can stay here forever.
Well, I mean, if he's not staying here, then we can't either forever, right? I mean, gotta make a move.
We'll have to figure out something. I was thinking Brattleboro, something like that, heading up into the area near Cobb's Corners. We know that that's the region that they're kind of in general, and lurking around there, we might be able to pick up some more information. Of course, we're going to need to lay real low now. They've played their hand and they've shown what they're willing to do, poison people. And if we're out in the middle of nowhere, then I'm pretty sure they're going to be much more overt. They don't have to hide anything.
It's the last thing they'd expect. Bringing a fight to them. Rocking up on the front doorstep. They're not going to see that coming.
Maybe before we plan exactly what the move is, we should have a word to, him.
From the other room, you hear a feeble cough. Hello?
Alright. Alright. Well, do the two of you wish to be part of this, or would you like me to speak to him?
I can stand and look threatening if you do the talking.
Perfect.
I might stay outside then. I'll call me if he needs, anything.
Oh yeah, good cop.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will make my way inside.
Awesome. So Katie, I assume this adjoins the kitchen or something. Katie sits at the table and kind of pointedly looks away, and Seb and Chaz both walk into the room. When he began to stir, Katie and we'll assume Chaz or someone double checked his bindings, and he's been reseated up against a chair towards the back. And unless you want him otherwise, you could have blindfolded him as he woke up, Katie, if you're worried about people looking through his eyes. So when you come into the room, he's got you found like a sleeping mask from Seb's mum. That's been put around him, and then a tie on top of it to keep it secured, and then his ears plugged with cotton. So he couldn't really see or hear you much. So when you come into the room, Seb and Chaz, and close the door behind him, he's looking around and he can't hear anything, and he's occasionally going, hello? Hello?
I imagine the face mask has like a flowery pattern on it, and there's like sweet dreams over the front or something.
And once again, re-describing Jason Trent, 'cause it's been a little while. He is a very small, slight figure. He typically wears very thick glasses, and he keeps his like kind of longish hair flattened down across his scalp. He dresses in slightly oversized clothes, and historically he carried a little briefcase with him, which has not made the trip to Sebastian's apartment. He has been changed out and into one of Seb's father's dressing gowns so that his bandages could be easily tended to, and he's now sitting looking quite vulnerable on a wooden chair, swinging his head around on a swivel.
Seb is going to walk up and gently put a hand on like his upper arm so that he knows that someone's there.
Yep.
And then with his other hand will pull the stuff out, the stuff
So
out of
you
his
can
ears. And then I'm just gonna say very quietly, Mr. Trent, I'm sorry that your stay has been less than comfortable with us. Quick question before we start. Are any of your companions hitching a lift in your psyche right now, or are we having this conversation one-to-one?
No, sorry. Quite alone. Just me and you, fella.
All right. And then I will untie the eye mask as well, so he can see.
What day is it? How long's it been since everything went wrong?
How about we do this in a little bit more of a sharing capacity? How about you answer some of my questions and then I'll answer some of yours?
Oh, very well. Sure. He looks back to Chaz standing in the door. Hello.
Before we start, can we get you anything? Water, something to eat? I know you've been out for quite a while.
Water, please.
I'll look to Chaz and...
Katie, water.
I'll scuttle in with like a jug and 2 cups and place them down and the whole bit. Yep.
I will pour water for him. He would not be able to... we can untie one of his hands so he can drink. Yeah. I'm going to say that they're bound separately.
Yep.
So I'll get one, and I will also pour myself water so that he can see we're drinking from the same thing.
Thank you. Perfect. So sorry, you're leading the questions, right?
I mean, if you're willing to answer a few, yes.
He is.
I am.
Good. Let's start real simple then.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us your name?
Jason Trent. No?
Seb's just not gonna say anything, and just there's that, like, the grin has been pleasant, and then Seb, it goes a little bit stiff.
Yes, sorry. I am Robert Toons. I share the space with Mr. Trent. Pleased to meet you again. Eh?
Robert.
Yes.
We had a friend called Robert.
Yes. Seemed an unfortunate type from what I've heard.
Well, it was unfortunate for him.
Yes, very, very unfortunate.
That actually does take me to a rather important question. Our old friend Robert had in his possession a series of strange hexagonal discs. I was wondering if you knew anything about those.
Discs.
Etchings on them.
Yes.
Kind of
they're stores of knowledge. The Migo, the fungi, they store their information on them, quite more advanced than our printing press. A lot of information stored in more dimensions. It's quicker to learn once you know how.
And how does one learn from these discs?
With a great amount of time dedicated and a quiet mind for study.
I see. So, time and study, as with most things. Surprise, surprise.
Yes. If Mr. Dedrick, if you could have your assistant bring me a tea, please, while we're talking, and anything to nibble on.
Chaz,
No.
Katie. Pull some leaves off that house plant, boil them up, so you can scrape some biscuit crumbs out of the tin.
Okay.
Just anything that's going. I'm not a picky eater. Thank you. Sorry.
Of course. I mean, as I said, it is unfortunate circumstances. We would have preferred to have this conversation in nicer environs, but here we are.
Yes.
And like there is that same kind of freeze in Seb, and like a sort of twitch and a look of like a very you would probably have to make some kind of an observation roll to notice it, but his face just like kind of tenses briefly. Could you tell me what happened to Jason Trent?
To Mr. Trent? Oh, well, as I understand, he was a local fellow, schoolboy, traveling in deep woods. He was taken, as so many were, by our mutual friends, and decided that his membership at the university would be better signed to me. He and the other students were taken, their bodies hollowed and given over to others more loyal to the Migos' cause.
So Mr. Trent is, if the concept of consciousness is to be understood, is no longer with us. Is that correct?
No, his most important organ has been scooped forth and stored in perpetuity. You're speaking with me now.
Oh, I'm aware. And what an interesting conversation it is. Why were you harvesting organs?
Gorgons.
Organs. Hearts, lungs, spleens.
No, not harvesting. You're speaking of the man, the fellow in the basement, yes?
That, and also, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, some of your research topics in the library did seem to touch on the extraction of organs from living donors.
No. These are secrets that our fellows, the Bigo, have mastered long ago. They are formidable biologists. They can re-engineer themselves to express and pointed purpose. Any single person can be a machine for one tool for the perfect job. They remake to suit your friend, the fellow. He was only a tool by the time you came to know him again. He was there to communicate between all us. It was unfortunate how he came to be. By the end, I expect it was quite painful. Any movement on that tea, Mr. Dedrick?
Milk and sugar?
No, just straight, thank you.
No, thank you, Katie. Doesn't need any milk or sugar.
Okay.
So they can remake humanity into whatever form they like. Because
they excel at their own forms. They have many designed, you would not recognize them as one species. That some made to be soldiers and to defend, others scouts, yet more spies, and their librarians are all but walking machines, capable of storing immense quantities of information.
Machines. Interesting. It's very Deus Ex Machina. Why are you helping them, Amigo?
Well, I'm afraid I have little choice in the matter. They took me some time ago, and I've spent years pondering their offer, thinking about what it might be like to have a body again, and when they came to offer me one for such little service, I all but leapt at the opportunity. I understand, though, that now I have my body. Perhaps I could just go and explore these,
Seb taps him on the chest.
Ha.
But this isn't your body, is it?
Well, it's, it is. It is. I've earned it. It's a reward.
People don't earn bodies, they're born into them. And you had one, obviously, at some point, and it's long gone. And by extension, I think it generally means that you should be long gone as well. And yet you're here, which I assume means you spent some time as a brain in a vat.
Sometime.
When were you born, Robert? Give or take.
Before your colonies decided they were unaligned.
Independent.
18th century.
I see. Pre-independence. That explains the accent and the obnoxious attitude.
I found your well, I suppose.
Why do the Migo need to enslave people in order to remain hidden? I understand they want to hide their presence, but why the need to enslave humanity? Why not just do it themselves? Surely you've thought about that.
What? They don't enslave humanity. They have spies and agents everywhere, working to keep things secret and quiet. I understand. I've only worked with some, only been spoken to by some, but as I understand it, they have operations all over the world. And
yes, but why? Why do they insist on keeping themselves hidden and yet still have human allies? Doesn't make any sense.
well, as I understand it, we have things on Earth that they must not be able to get from elsewhere. And they seem to think that a wider conflict is not worth it. It may draw attention.
And do these things have anything to do with the strange rocks, the extraterrestrial material that was found in Cobb's Corners in the Frowning Area, or is that something from them?
We were expressly told to find any research into the mineral that had been collected by the university, make sure that evidence was destroyed and any mineral was to be brought back, as well as with the professor's brain for further study.
So you don't know whether this mineral is part of their secret society or whether this is the thing that they want from Earth?
I'm afraid I'm not a geologist. And that was the expertise of others. I was sent to look in the library. I was a historian in my time, and I still quite a good one. I read books. I look for information.
Oh, that's fascinating. So do I. And I just tilt the cane so that it shines on some of the engravings. So you don't know what this mineral's for at all?
No. Quite valuable, important, as I understand it.
I see. Do you have any knowledge of the deputy in Cobb's Corners, what his connection to all of this is, if any?
The deputy? No,
Cutter.
I know they have agents in the surrounds, but
I see.
no specifics, I'm sorry. I hate to push the matter, but I am parched. Mr. Dedrick, is that tea coming anytime soon?
Katie, that tea coming?
I got it.
I will pour him more water and be like, there is water.
Yes. Thank you. If Katie comes in, he'll take it off you now.
I will... Quick question for you. Is this a he would like tea because he would like tea, or he would like tea because he kind of is like, at this point I'm like, what the fuck? Why'd you keep asking for this? No trusting.
He seems to be just trying to, flex a little bit with what he can get away with. Do you want to actually give me a psychology roll?
Sure, I can do that. I did slightly up my psychology. Not enough though. That's okay.
I seem to be kind of pushing on seeing what he gets away with a little bit. And also just asking for, something to maybe draw comfort from.
If he's pushing for it, I will like hold up a hand just as Katie comes in, just briefly and say, before tea, if you don't mind, how do these work? And I will pull out from my jacket the device.
Carefully, I think. They are some sort of,
Oh, they're dangerous, and I'll point it at him.
You're as likely to damage yourself with that than you are as me. That took quite a bit of practice to learn, and I'm still no master with it. Although I remember it worked well enough on you.
Yes, it did.
Yes.
So you don't know how it works, really. You can't tell us.
It's a number of nodes. They draw. I don't understand the technology, no, but I learn well enough to use one.
It is an electrical repair roll to understand and use. With his direction, you could get a bonus dice if one of you wanted to figure out how to use it. But they are. Do you have electrical repair, Chaz?
I think I do.
You might have a chance then.
No, 10. Mechanical repair is where I'm at.
Yeah.
That's fine. We have the devices. We can take some time. If he will give us an overview, then I will listen to what he has to say. But I'm not going to try and do anything with it.
His level of technology is so far out of date. He really doesn't understand like electricity super well and shit. But basically, you squeeze it and you let the charge like move through your body and then direct it. It also has like it's a bunch of like lumpy weird shit. It's cold to the touch. He can give you some approximate direction on how it works. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we'll take that, and then when he's quite done describing it, I will let Katie walk in, hand over the tea.
Lifesaver. Thank you. If I could ask, what is to happen to be?
We haven't decided yet.
Oh. Well, if it factors in, remember I've been quite forthcoming.
Oh, don't be concerned. We're not gonna hurt you.
You forgive me, because I recall my fellows being bludgeoned.
They were trying to kill us.
Yes, so was I.
Yes, but you're not trying to kill us now.
No, not at all. No.
If we let you go, what are you going to do?
Well, I'd quite like to see this country, and in time, perhaps return to my own, see what it's made of itself. Nothing to do with the three of you, and I'll not tell anyone of what I know lives in the hills. I'd rather hope to avoid them in the future.
Well, you should probably be aware that we did have...
You're not entirely sure you believe him on that.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Can I make this psychology check on it?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm still in the room, wouldn't it be lovely if he's genuinely just like, I'm sorry,
My
I'll
bad,
go away.
guys.
I'm just gonna go and
Whether
travel
he's
the
telling the
country.
truth or not, Seb does not believe him.
Do a version of I've been everywhere, man, with him talking. I've been everywhere.
Oh,
That's a hard success.
Whenever he mentions the Migo or their devices or anything, there's like a gleam in his eyes, slightly manic. Okay, do you get the impression that this person is, for one, insane? They are probably, like, their mind was probably broken years ago. And given the timing, 18th century now, he has possibly spent 100 years without form being, forgive the pun, brainwashed into loyalty. There's a lot of, programming at work that is probably not being undone.
David, I will not forgive that pun. That pun was far too powerful. I will whisper to the others he's lying, and then I will step back outside unless I need it.
Seb will
He possibly, actually, one other thing is you realize he's possibly not even lying to, like, he's not even necessarily intentionally lying. You just are aware that, nah, man, he might leave, give him a couple of days and he'll go back. Like, he won't be able to control himself. It's like a, sleeper agent.
Well, as I said, we haven't decided, but we're not planning on hurting you, so...
No. Oh, good. You'll forgive me. I'm tired. If I might rest, we could continue this in the morning.
Oh, I really only have one other question for you.
Oh, good. Yes, of course. Sorry. Proceed.
At least for now. Your companions.
Yes.
Where would they be likely to go?
Do you mean the fellows I traveled with?
I mean...
The students.
The students, the ones that survived. You mentioned that they have Learmont's brain.
Yes.
Where would they have taken that?
I don't know that the direction was to get Learmont's brain. I don't know how well they succeeded. We were in 2 separate teams.
I see. Well, let's, for the sake of this hypothetical, when they had retrieved the brain, where were they told to go?
We have a house on the outskirts of Arkham. Preparations were being made to meet with our masters there and be relocated in our more portable forms back to the facility.
And where's the facility?
In the hills, not far. I believe the state of Vermont. We have a rather large facility. I've spent some time in within the mountains. They'll be returned there. That's where your fellows' original organs still are being held.
So
I can take you there if it's of interest. I can prove myself quite loyal, you'll see. Really, I'll do almost anything for you.
You mentioned you were tired. I wouldn't want to overtax you today. We'll pick this up maybe tomorrow.
Yes, thank you. I'll retire then. Enjoy this drink, miss, and keep you up no longer.
Chaz, when he's done with his tea, would you mind rebinding him and...
With pleasure.
Thank you. It's as much
tight,
for your safety as for ours.
Of course.
We wouldn't want you to, I don't know, start attacking us again, because that would be unfortunate.
No, of course not. Bind away then. Have a good night, Mr. McCarthy, Mr. Dedrick, Miss Wilkes. I'll see you in the morning.
Thank you, Robert. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yes, you as well.
And Seb will push himself up on his cane, and visibly it hurts him to move around at the moment. And he will, as he gets to the door, look back over and say, "You have my word. We won't hurt you."
Excellent.
And then he'll walk out.
He can finish his drink and he can be rebound. You secure the room. Chaz, is there anything you want to say to him when it's just the two of you alone?
Yet.
Oh.
Adding to Seb's comment of...
It's fine. If people are paying attention, Seb has very specific wording.
There's wording. And then he gets rebound and you leave the room. It's late by the time you finish the interrogation. Well into the night. Probably pushing towards the early morning. Is there anything the three of you want to talk about before bed or do?
Well, the hills of Vermont. I mean, that's good. The facility somewhere up there. If he can lead us there, that's big. If we can figure out the details, I mean, that seems like our next logical step, right? Try and figure out what's going on.
Makes sense.
I mean,
we'll go on back up there anyway, right? To Brattleboro, maybe it's near there.
I don't think we should rely on him to take us there. I think we get what information we can from him, and then we hand him over to someone for processing.
I mean, what do you have in mind?
Well, given his clear instability, I don't think the police are going to be the right kind of people to deal with him. I do wonder whether Mr. O'Leary would be interested in any more information about the people responsible for Higgins's unfortunate circumstances.
Nothing wrong with trying to keep him in the good books.
What
Although,
sorry, after you.
I was just going to say that is because it seemed to upset you, Chaz, last time. I am talking about a rather permanent solution to that particular problem.
Yeah, I got a little bit less sympathy for these brain stealers.
I must admit, it does concern me to know that the brains of our companions are still around. I wonder whether the
We can fix
replacement of, well, given that, the bodies of a not insignificant number are broken, whether or not that's something that is able to be resolved with the replacement of organs and brains, or whether a damaged body is, well, the end of all things, I'm not sure. Although perhaps if these Migo are so advanced, they will have information about how to fix the mechanics of humanity. Who knows?
Well, I mean, we got to think about this, because if we do hand him over to the mob, well, and what you're saying, a permanent solution, that sounds like it's not going to end well. I agree with Chaz. I don't necessarily have sympathy for them, but if we can find a way that avoids more death, and also that's Trent's body. You're right. If we can keep it intact, we have a chance of being able to restore things. I mean, I don't know what's happening with the other bodies, Clarissa and everyone else. I mean,
well, let's be perfectly clear. I don't care whether we find Laszlo in a jar or not. I will be smashing that thing.
Right, that'd be great.
But you heard what he said, right? He said, I didn't have a choice in the matter. He was taken a long time ago, left in a jar for 100 years. I mean, I think we should send him to an asylum. Get him committed, explain that he's under the delusions, that he is actually, from a different century, set them down on that path, and then, well, he can be kept in there. I mean, he looks insane. Maybe he actually is, and maybe it'll be good for him. Maybe they'll undo what happened.
I don't think it's possible to undo 100 years of being a brain in a jar. I don't think that's something you can psychoanalyze out of someone, Katie. I don't mean to step on your idea, but I think that might be a psychological impossibility.
Yeah, maybe they can actually help him, but some of these sanitariums are like prisons. They keep him locked up so that they can't hurt no one.
My only concern with, putting him anywhere is if they do have any kind of connection to him. Do you really want to set the Migo on a bunch of unstable people?
I mean, it's a good point. I think that we've had him here for a few days. It doesn't seem like he has a connection. I guess, are we willing? If there's any way that could take care of him safely, I feel like it would be an asylum. But there's a risk. You're right.
Perhaps an opportunity will present itself. I think at the moment, the most important thing is, and I'll look at Chaz, who I believe was on 1 hit point or 2 hit points when we finished last chapter, and be like,
Yeah, that's true.
Still in the process of recovering. I don't really feel up to the task of doing really anything right now. And actually, to that end, if you'll excuse me, I am going to go and head back to the study. And Seb will just kind of like, again, kind of glazed, start to meander off, sort of like just leaving the conversation at this point without really any good reason to.
That was weird.
Well, I mean, it's been stressful for everybody. And I think that we got to remember that While it's all well and good for us to talk about the happy ways we could do things, Seb's having to be practical, and he's kind of right in some ways, at least. Maybe it's not fair to put all the burden of having to make those choices just on him.
Yeah. So what do? We just gotta keep resting for a little while longer?
I think that there's enough books here that we can begin some preliminary research on the area around Vermont. Between conversations with Robert and with the books that we have here, maybe we can start to get an idea of the location. Then we can look towards seeing what our options are. Ideally, we have him committed. If not, well, the mob's an option. It's not a great one.
Keep that door open.
Yeah.
Keep that door open as Seb goes into the study, closes the door, and you hear a click.
Oh, yep.
All right, click.
Everyone's
The door being locked.
Oh, not like of a gun.
hammer ring drawn back.
Jesus, no.
Yeah.
Nope. Seb's fine.
It'll be
Good.
right. He just needs a little sleep. All right, so everyone retire for the evening.
Yeah, I think Seb most likely falls asleep in the chair. I don't think he's like done a lot of going. Like, he has gone and, you know, rested and stuff, but he absolutely sort of like flicking through this book again and then kind of nods off. Might eventually wake up and move himself into his room, but it's not a he rests when he's too tired to do otherwise, which is a lot of the time at the
These
moment.
days. Bit
Spends a lot of time reserving the very tiny number of spoons he currently has. And talking to Trent probably actually took quite a bit out of him.
I dig. Yeah. So Seb retires in the study. And Katie and Chaz, unless there's anything else you want to do, night falls and we return the next day. Who does have major wounds? It's just Seb currently.
I think Chaz does as well.
Chaz, you have a
doesn't
major
it?
wound? Oh yeah, you
Did I
got
get a major
D-
wound?
yeah, you took 10 damage, so yeah, you would. Sorry. Both Seb and
Okay,
Chaz, can you
great.
both please make Constitution rolls for me as a week has passed?
Oh dear.
Success.
Success.
Nice. You can both. You no longer have major wounds. You can both restore a D3.
Do I? I thought you had to be over a certain number. Or no?
Nope. That just
Okay.
restores you. You still have major wounds. Yeah, but now you can begin restoring. From here on
Now
out.
you get a hit point. 1 hit point back a day.
Yes, and from
Yeah, the
here on,
wage
and
remains.
Katie, you've had a week of restoring at 1 hit point a day, so you'll be pretty close to full.
I am at full. I was only down like 4 points.
That is at least another week
Could be a
and
little
bit
while.
for me. Yeah, it's going to be a long time for me.
Okay. The next morning, you wake up and go about your bits and bots and whatnot. You're reading the newspaper, and you sort of scatter yourself. Trent or Toons has been fed and watered, taken out to the bathroom, and is just being resecured when from the lowest level there is a knock on the front door.
Oh, we expecting anyone? Seb?
Seb will hear, and like there will be the click of a door unlocking. He walks out. Because he hasn't, he'll have the book under his arm. He'll be like, just a moment, we'll walk in, put the book in the secure area, latch that, and then make his way to the front door. So I assume there's a couple of like, no answer, knock again. So there's a couple of those before Seb actually gets to the door.
Can I do a quick, creep up to the door and look through the keyhole without...
I will say, like, the door is on street level, and there are, like, windows that look down over street level. So if you wanted to, like, sneak up to, like, a higher level, you could, like, look down and see if you could see, but through the keyhole is also
You
an
can
option.
no roll needed. You can head to a thing and pull back a curtain and look down. You can see there is a very nice long Rolls Royce parked just in front, like directly in front of the thing, almost obfuscating a little bit the front door from the rest of the street. And standing just under the eaves, you can make out a very handsome blonde, slender, tall man with a briefcase held in front of him that he's like holding before him and drumming his fingers along a little bit, not impatiently but just passing the time. He has a newspaper and a manila folder under one arm, and he's waiting at the door. After a little bit, when there's no response again, he just reaches forward, grabs like I imagine you guys would have, like, I think there's like the stag door knocker, and wraps it once or twice more. And then goes back to just waiting, standing at the front.
One last
Chaz
question.
will,
Sorry, Chaz. Is there anything that I can spot on him that might give away any kind of affiliation, like that Rolls Royce? Is there like a dealer's identification, or is it like noticeably kind of like Men in Black style? That's so nice, but there's no logos. There's not.
Make an it's less spot hidden. Maybe just make a credit rating roll.
Sounds good. That is a failure.
To you, it just looks kind of like fancy and wealthy.
Yep. Okay.
But you don't get like the exact. There is no clear branding on it though. Nothing super up and about. But it just looks wealthy.
I think I'm panicked, so that despite this is obviously not the case, I'm gonna say, Seb, I think it's your dad.
Oh. All right.
but just in case it's not, I'm gonna grab my bat.
Yep, and I'm gonna get a poker from the fireplace.
Oh, okay. If you both wouldn't mind, maybe in the lounge room,
Okay.
out of sight.
Smart.
I will. Yeah. Did you?
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say I will make my way towards the door, unlatch it. There is like a security chain still, because everyone has that, and I will open the door just enough to look through, and say, "Hello."
The bloke in front of you looks down, smiles, and says, "Good morning. I am Leon Pascal. I'm a lawyer with Federated Oil and Chemical. I was hoping I could have a word with you and your friends inside."
So
If it helps,
the door.
The door like clicks shut.
Just closes. Unlatches it. Opens it again.
He goes, "If it helps, I've brought a peace offering." And he pats some of the papers under his thing. "And I'm quite alone."
Katie, Chaz, the poker and the bat will not be required. Sir, if you'd like to walk this way, my father's study.
Yes,
And I
thank
will
you.
walk him down. What did you say his name was again, sorry?
Leon Pascal.
Leon Pascal. And I will walk him down into the, like my father's study, which is like a place where, he does psychoanalysis stuff, as well as talks to his patients, and will sort of go usher him inside.
As you're walking through, Leon looks around, takes in the, not like overly opulent, but like the very nice surroundings, and makes a couple idle comments like, lovely place. As he sees Katie and Chaz, he'll walk along, shake each of your hands, and reintroduce himself. He clearly already knows your names and recognizes you. He goes, "Lovely to meet you all. Apologies for not calling ahead, but well, we only just learned where you are, and I wanted to make contact as quickly as possible. Share the good news and just have a chat." He sits down in the table, like in front of a coffee table, puts the briefcase on it, and unclicks the latches and hoists it up. You can't immediately see inside, but he begins to go through a couple of pieces of paper.
I wanted to mention, can I make a sleight of hand check to try to have the poker nearby, or resting? I don't think.
Yeah,
I'm
make
very
a
good
sleight
at
of hand roll.
Okay. Yep, that is a fail. I think if you'll permit
kind of
me,
pointed.
I think I still have it. I've just failed to hide
100%.
it very well.
Can I make a roll to make it as obvious as possible that I have not let go of the bat?
Do you wanna
In
make an
fact, I'm
intimidation roll?
lightly drumming it on my hand? Yeah.
Yeah, make an intimidation roll.
That's
He
not
puts
even
down,
worth spending luck on.
He puts down the briefcase, clicks it open, and without looking at either of you, he goes, I assure you, you can hold on to them if you wish, but weapons won't be necessary. This is just a meeting. A preliminary one, I do hope.
Seb settles him down into the very nice leather chair in the sitting area that they're in. He was going to go to the study, but it appears that we're having this conversation in a lounge room, so casual it is. Crosses a leg and just like has his cane in front of him and just sits and looks at the man.
Leon pushes a few pieces of paper around and gets things in order, and then looks up at the three of you again. He says, so, as I mentioned, my name is Mr. Pascal, and I'm a lawyer working with Federated Oil and Chemical. I believe we have a few shared interests. I understand that the three of you were involved in one of the expeditions out to Cobb's Corners and the surrounding areas, which we did help to finance. And I also understand that you came into some trouble while pursuing our objectives and your own. You'll forgive me for being forward, but I was hoping I might be able to tempt you into a meeting with Mr. Abelard, the company founder and CEO. He's very interested in what you've recently encountered and possibly working with you in future. Now, I understand you may have reason to be suspicious. The recent allegations made against you and, well, the events at the dance and similar are quite damning, and from what I've seen, though, the three of you were quite innocent and only reacting to circumstances. Once again, very forward, but I have taken it upon myself to ease the passage and present ourselves in as good a light as possible. You'll see here, he turns a paper around and pushes it forward. There's been no call for you to come in to meet with the police today. I've spoken to the detectives and made it clear that there's really no reason for you to be interrogated, and you weren't involved in anything. And additionally, Mr. Dedrick, you'll be pleased to know that the charges against you in Salem have been dropped. You're no longer wanted, and I've made sure that the bail has been refunded to your mother. They should be returning back home soon. Nothing more to worry about there. Additionally, I have spoken with the Dean, Mr. Marinus Bricknell, and after his rather fortunate appearance at the fall dance, he's found it in himself to offer the three of you returns to school when the semester resumes, as well as scholarships for the foreseeable future. I do hope that will be appropriate. You're re-enrolled in the classes you were already pursuing, but I'm sure if you speak with them, you can change subjects or anything you like.
Oh my god. I think Katie was really excited for a second and sort of forced herself to draw back. Said, this is great. Don't get me wrong, but you're right. We were suspicious about Abelard. I don't know. Forgive me, but how are you just here to deliver a message, or are you
an offer? I think I'm here to take you to meet with him. I hope you're interested. No, I hope this is a worthy peace offering.
Has Abelard told you why he wants to speak to us? More to the point.
Your encounters in Vermont, the surrounds, and those that have pursued you across state borders.
Well, we had reason to believe that Abelard was associated with them. That's why we were cautious.
Yes, he's very involved. I understand, he lost someone long ago, taken by those that pursue you now, and he's, well, it's a vengeful mission. I think you'll find an ally in him, and in me.
Would you permit us with a moment of private conversation?
Yes, of course. Take a look over the papers. Feel free to peruse, and if you have any questions, I assure you it's all quite accurate. Now, I do also have... I noticed one of your number isn't here, Miss Josephine Johnston. Is she present? Will she be talking with us?
She's not here, so if you're trying to get us in to shut us up, then you can't.
Oh, will she be joining later, or? I understand this offer extends to the four of you, and I have returned her role at the university that she might finish her degree.
Miss Johnson is no longer in our company.
She's fine. She's just not here.
She's otherwise engaged, all right?
Okay. No, nothing done. I can we can talk about it more later. Listen, I'll give you a moment to talk. For what it's worth, the car outside is ready to take us to meet with Mr. Abelard. I would suggest, if you agree to accompany me, that you pack bags for a few days' travel, so that you can be comfortable. In the meantime, I will excuse myself to the kitchen, and you can talk as you will.
Actually, you may want to have a conversation with one other person. If you wouldn't mind following me. And I'll stand up.
He stands up as well, closes the briefcase and takes it, but leaves the newspaper folder and all relevant articles to the actions they've taken to clear your names on the table, and follows you.
As we walk down, I'll say, Mr. Abelard is not fond of these things.
No, not at all. He pursues them with zeal.
Well, men should either be treated generously or destroyed. In here, and I will open the door to where Trent is.
He looks in at Trent, who's still like asleep, recovering from his injuries, and Pascal goes, "Ah, I see. Well, I had wondered where some of these got to. This is the only one unaccounted for, so if you'd be interested, we'd bring him with us. I think Mr. Abelard would have several questions for him."
I don't care about your offers for school or for scholarship. I don't need the money, and I don't really need the help. What I do want is business partnerships, favors, that kind of thing.
You'll find Mr. Abelard both wealthy and powerful. He survived the recent crash, and he shows no signs of stopping. His company is spread across the world, and if it's business dealings, we can offer them aplenty. And he has begun to explore more modern solutions to problems of old. We have seen things not dissimilar to yourself, Mr. McCarthy, and I think you would find a friend in us.
Well, as Plato is fond of saying, one of the penalties for refusing to play in politics is that you risk being governed by your inferiors, and Seb will hold out a hand. I don't particularly feel like being an inferior anymore.
He nods, takes your hand and shakes it, and then gives the room to you, Chaz, and Katie, so that you can speak.
So I will leave him in with Trent, because I'm like, if you want to talk to him, you can, and then I will head back into the lounge to speak to the other two.
Okay.
If that works out narratively.
Well, it sounds like you've made a deal. I mean,
that was out of earshot specifically.
Okay, that was out of earshot.
Absolutely out of earshot, because I had that conversation while we were near Trent. I was intending to be out of earshot, but if you want to have tried to hear, you can.
I when you get back in, I don't know. I think we might be able to trust him. I don't know. Chaz, what do you think?
You're muted.
Trust him? He tracked us down here without any trouble at all. You want to trust him?
I don't. Well, trust might be the wrong word, but I mean, and I'm like clutching the like readmission letter to my chest, like it's like it's gonna get taken away from me at any point. If he wanted to, I feel like. Look, we know the people who are after us now. At least that we know who, we know what they are, and there's two. There's them, the Migo and their agents, and then there's the cops. And this behavior, what he's doing, it doesn't make sense to the cops, and I don't really think it makes sense for the Migo.
Yeah, but I mean. So the company, they're the one who partially funded the expedition in the first place, right? And we're supposed to believe that's because they were trying to stop the Migo as well?
Well, we know that Abelard was interested in areas that the Migo were also interested in. I mean,
Look, I don't trust the man as far as I can throw him. But
I
do
trust him
think
less.
that is reasonable. But I'm not against working with them.
I mean, what they've offered us here. I mean, we were going to have to think about sneaking out of the state. We were bent over a barrel. I might be able to go and see my sister now if we're not wanted anymore. If charges are being dropped, I mean,
Yeah.
they know where we are. If they wanted to kill us, I think they would have come in harder than that.
All right.
Well, that and they know who we are. So, if they really wanted to twist our arm, they would have threatened things we cared about, not offered us peace offerings. They seem to be after the same things we are. Information and, for what it's worth, revenge. And strangely enough, I trust that.
I think we make it real clear that Joe's still out there. So if they are Migo affiliated and they're trying to just delete everything we know, they can't. And then we see what they have to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can go along with them. Doesn't mean we have to trust them, right? We can agree with that.
And I think that we make it entirely clear that we will be bringing a bat and a poker, and it's not negotiable.
I mean, it's really that much of an issue. I think I may have finally understood something.
What's that?
You'll see.
Okay. Okay.
The real question is, should we take the books along with us? Or do you feel they'd be safe here? I would prefer to have them on us, but I also don't particularly want them taken away.
No. I don't like it. I don't like that. No. Keep them safe.
If they stay here, they're unguarded.
Yeah, but we take them with us, then this company is gonna know we have them, and they could want them, right? I mean, that's just another thing that we've got that they don't have, and so it's gonna add up to, at some point we go along, we work with them, all right, but after some while we're gonna expend our usefulness to them, right? They only want us now because of what we know and our experiences, and as soon as they scrape that off us, then we're done. So let's not give them too much.
I was gonna say something. If these charges are dropped, if we have some freedom of movement, I want to go and see my sister. I think it'd be reasonable for us to say, hey, drop us off at the hospital on the way. I could leave the books there with Violet.
Absolutely not. Katie, that's taking them back to the university, which is even less safe at the moment than being with us, I think.
Well, we can always pick them back up, but while they're at the hospital, no, I guess you're right.
Without Armitage, I have concerns about the restricted collection in general. I hope Napoleon is still around and okay. He will at least do something to stop people from sticking their noses into places they don't belong, but we are going to... If everything has been settled down, perhaps I can speak to my uncle. He can at least make sure that the library's secure.
Then we should keep him on our side. I don't think we should leave him here, Chaz. I agree with Seb.
All right. Go pack a bag.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So everyone packs up some clothes. The books are secured in like a large, heavy like trunk or something, which also has like a lock fitted to it, so it can be secured. Trent's coming as well. Okay. Trent will be helped up and out to the car.
Seb, if like the other two say anything, it will angle for that, but
Leon's seen him now and is definitely like assuming he's coming, and make space for him. I will assume you've brought like some clothes, some basic equipment and things, as well as the books. And with the impression that's like for like a few days travel, we can flashback and you can just say you grabbed other stuff if it makes sense. Basically, and I mean, Katie and Chaz, you're only here temporarily, so you can basically bring all your stuff in quite easily. You're all helped down to the car where Leon opens the trunk and you can load in the gear. Trent is they put a mask like since you've already got it, the mask is put back on Trent, and Leon will say, let's just make sure he doesn't know anything more than he needs to. He will help everyone into the back seat. When the car's like that long, like three facing three seats, he gets into the driver's seat, make sure everyone's buckled in, and then begins to drive. He is a smooth driver and begins to navigate the streets of Arkham. And it's not long before you realize that you're not going very far at all. He heads out, and rather heading onto like the main thoroughfare out of the city, he instead goes deeper in, across the river, and up across into like an older like financial business district. When he parks the car, you're across the road from an old like heavy like marble bank, which the logo, the sign has been taken off, and currently being hoisted up there by a bunch of men surrounding the scaffolding is a large Federated Oil and Chemical logo. You can see there are trucks backing in with supplies, and the whole thing is being visibly renovated. A rear entrance goes down towards what probably would lead into like the vault, and where previously money trucks would be going down to relocate gold and cash, now there are two large refrigerated butcher's trucks currently parked at the back there. Overseeing them is a scientist, a woman in like a white lab coat with a clipboard, who's watching the trucks they move through, and as they take them out, they're moving large heavy wooden boxes which take several people to move them into the back on trolleys. Another woman with a sort of like slightly curled blonde bob and dressed in a smart business suit is overseeing the general people coming and going. And as Leon pulls up alongside, he'll open the door and let all three of you out, and he'll say, welcome to Federated Oil and Chemical's most recent purchase. We're thinking of spreading ourselves and making a new foundation here in Arkham. If you want to leave your things here, they can all be brought inside by one of the assistants shortly, or you're free to carry them in yourselves. I'll take you inside and introduce you to the team.
Forgive me, I'd prefer none of my belongings out of my sight for too long. There's a few valuable things I didn't want to leave in the house.
Not an issue. In that case, he'll flag down someone to come and help just carry bags. But if you don't want to, you can also just be the ones to carry them. And following him, you begin to head inside. As you get there, he will talk to a very clean cut, like military looking guy with like a square head and wide shoulders, dressed in like he's got like the camo khakis and everything, and like just a white t-shirt on underneath, and he'll say, Mr. Morrison, if you could please get the young man in the car out and place him somewhere secure. We don't want him talking to anyone that he shouldn't be. Thank you. And Mr. Morrison turns around and heads to get Trent and bring him inside somewhere secured. Leon then leads the way into the bank, and the three of you follow. Inside the first floor, there are a bunch of offices currently being fitted. This was previously the entrance to the bank, so they're renovating it with large doors, and they're just like now like wheeling chairs and things like that. As you walk in, Leon says interviews for positions here are going to be beginning tomorrow, so we're hoping to get everything up and running very soon. This is a legitimate business, and they're planning to basically build like this as one of the just another American base of operations. He walks around towards a lift. There are two elevators, one for general use which goes up to floor 4, and another for private use which has a like security guard posted in front of it, which heads up higher to the final 2 floors. As you head up, the security guard looks over each of you. And do you have any weapons on you?
I was about to say that I was probably pretty comfortable once I saw that we were going somewhere that seems pretty like, it seems public, even though I know obviously that we're going into something where evil things could be happening. I think I allowed one of the staff to take my poker bundled up with one of my bags.
Yep. Awesome. So you're not trying to sneak in a weapon. Sable, Chaz?
Yeah, no, they're not. Can't really hide a baseball bat.
So, like, in that case, you will just give it over to him at this point. Awesome. He takes it from you and like slides it in like an umbrella just into your bag, and then you can take it back. They've just noted that you have it and that you don't have it on you. It's just kind of secured away. Seb?
I have cane.
That's not gonna be an issue.
Then
Surely you would not take an old man's walking stick.
You're not deprived an old man.
so technically Seb's cane, yeah, I mean it doubles as a weapon if he swings it hard enough, but yeah, that is
they spot it, but
he will have brought along the 38 that we took off Laszlo, but it would be in one of his bags. It wouldn't be like on him.
Yeah.
And if they are checking for it and seem concerned, he will mention that it is there, but it is currently unloaded, and like that's where it is. It's just did not want to leave it behind at the house.
No worries. Okay.
Unattended. So he's not trying to hide it.
No worries. They clock it, and then you all head into the lift. It's not a very large one, but the four of you easily fit inside. And just as the doors are beginning to close, you hear someone like heeled steps clicking across the marble floor, and then a voice going, "Hold it! Hold the elevator!" The door almost shuts, then slides open, and the woman that was the scientist that was checking things off as the refrigerated trucks came in walks in. She is a scientist with like hair kept neatly shut, and she's got quite large glasses. She steps inside and curtly turns around at the back facing towards the thing. Pascal, once she gets in, steps back, and then the lift closed, then begin to rise. She looks to her and then to the three of you, and he says, Mr. McCarthy, Miss Wilkes, Mr. Dedrick, please meet Dr. Sarah Matheson. She is a practiced medical aide and our expert on the entities that have been found so far. She like twitches her glass a little bit and she says, I have done some study, yes, but only just beginning to learn what we can uncover.
And
you'll
what
forgive
do you
me.
call them?
I'm sorry?
What do you call them?
Well, so far we've called them the Me-Go, although we have seen other names for them that do exist. You'll forgive me if I don't dwell, though. I have business to get to. I'm only up for a quick word with Mr. Abelard. Pascal nods, and the lift continues rising. As you rise, he says, the first through floors 1, 2, and 3 are all offices, and we're going to be bringing in staff in the coming days. Floor 4 is a communal space. That's the kitchen and the mess. This elevator will not stop there, but you will have access to it if you want to get any food. Floor 5 is for guest rooms as well as conference rooms, and floor 6 is Mr. Abelard's private quarters and facilities. You rise up and then the door opens on floor 5. You can see there's a number of rooms which are being refitted to conference rooms, and a few tradies are moving around the perimeter, blacking out the windows so that people can't see in through them. Although, and looking out, you can still see, but it's kind of like very grayed and faded. You walk inside and see that there is, in one conference room, there is a heavily built man who is working on a series of maps spread out across a table, and there's a cork pinboard towards the back where pinned up are notes and pieces of information. One heavy manual in front of him that he has thumbed through looks to be some sort of like military equipment or something, like a wish list for grenades and stuff like that.
Dynamite.
Yeah. Pascal walks past him though and heads towards a final room. There is a conference room with a large oak table in the center, and towards the back there is a desk. Several uncomfortable looking chairs and couches have been arranged around the perimeter, and there's no vegetation or plants or anything, no decoration inside, and there's just a single pitcher of water in the center. Looking out the final window that is yet to be blacked out is a large man, elderly, pushing 60s or so, seated in a wheelchair with graying hair that's been pushed back. He has a hand just resting against the glass, and you recognize this as Mr. Michael Abelard. Standing just behind him and turning to intercept you as you approach the room is a massive red-haired and bearded Scotsman who dresses in a white shirt, vest, and bona fide kilt in front across his legs, and you can see that he clearly has holstered a sidearm and a freaking huge ass Bowie knife along his hip. He has very thick brows which are pressed low, and he seems a severe sort of fellow. Pascal will hand you over to them, and he says, I'll let you speak with Mr. Abelard, and I'll be just nearby, and we can speak further once everything is resolved, although you'll be dealing more with him and Miss Preston, his assistant, coming forward. And almost before you can really talk to him too much, he turns and moves away. The large guy, the Scotsman, steps forward. His name is Peter Murdoch, and he stands in the doorway and gets to the level of all three of you. He says, "Do you have weapons? You've been searched already?"
Yeah, we've been searched.
"Do you need that cane to walk?"
Well, I was electrocuted within an inch of my life, so I'm gonna go with yes.
Why don't you get into a chair then I'll take it off you.
I prefer to have it with me if it's alright with you.
That's unfortunate. I prefer you don't have it. Give it here.
I don't wish to give it up. I'm sorry. It's an heirloom. It belonged to my grandfather.
You'll understand that I'm in charge of security here, and I'm to make sure Mr. Abelard is safe. While you have that...
Look, if he somehow manages to beat your boss to death with a walking stick, then maybe you're not doing your job properly anyway.
He turns to you, Chaz, and steps forward. How tall is Chaz?
Maybe the established he's 6 something, because Joe was tall and Chaz was close but not quite.
Actually, size 60. Yeah, he's taller than average. Just a bit.
Taller than average. Murdoch has a good few inches on you and is just a bit sort of wider. He steps up towards you and looks down at you, and you can just see he does not fuck around with people. He's about to say something when from the wheelchair, Abelard spins around and he just waves a hand and he goes, no worries, let them in, Peter, let them sit, let them keep their bits and pieces, it doesn't matter, not in the grand scheme of things. He wheels around and begins to push himself across to you. Murdoch stands right in front of you for a beat, Chaz, and then steps back and away, but you can feel him watching you as he heads over to stand next to his next to Mr. Abelard. Michael Abelard wheels forward once more and then holds out a hand to each of you. He goes, Sebastian McCarthy, I believe. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Michael Abelard, hopeful friend and benefactor. Miss Katie Wilkes, is that right? Michael Abelard, pleased to meet you. Have a seat in one of these infernal chairs. And lastly, indomitable and once believed murderous Mr. Chaz Dedrick. Can I shake your hand, sir? Or will you try and bite it?
I'll shake his hand without saying much.
Pleased to make your acquaintance, sir. Please have a seat or stand near the exit ready to flee as you are comfortable. He wheels about and pushes away a little bit so that you kind of all gather in a semicircle. Peter Murdoch stays nearby, mostly looking at Chaz and occasionally at Seb. He seems to have mostly dismissed you, Katie, for the time being.
But I've got a good scrap on me now.
You're ready to go. You've been training. Abelard sits with his back to the window and says, so, I understand that the three of you and your missing friend have had some rather dangerous encounters of late with the creatures that we too have met with, the Migo, the fungi from Yuggoth.
Yes, we have.
I see. Well.
By the way, Seb has absolutely sat down at this point and is kind of... It seems a little tired.
Yeah. Abelard nods and says,
Good. Well, listen, I have a proposition for the three of you, and if you'll permit me, I'd share my personal story so that you understand where I'm coming from. I have a few questions, and then, well, we've already had you checked. I think we can do business together. Understand that I have a rather personal dealing with these creatures, and I have my own agenda in pursuing them. I would see them eradicated from the earth and pushed back to whatever dark corner of the universe they came from. Preferably, they would be killed before they even make it there, but that's not the subject of today's meeting. I had a boy, my young Michael, who was taken from me some years ago. We were trekking through the mountains and witnessing something strange, some ritual or another. We fled. I fell, lost the use of my legs in the accident, and lost my boy up there in the hills. Ever since then, I've looked for them. Everywhere they are, I knew there was more, and I began to find hints, traces of them, all throughout the globe. I've sought them out, and I've begun to map where they are, but I've rarely found something so concrete as what the three of you have stumbled upon. 3 years ago or so, Victor Pascal, brother of the fellow you met out there, was one of my surveyors. He found something out in the foothills of Vermont, a strange and impossible mineral. He sent it back for study, but we never heard from him again. He went completely missing. You see, that's where your previous expeditions came in. We did fund them so that they could go out and continue to pursue the mineral, find more of it, and find where it came from, or whether it was in abundance. But we did not yet know that they were necessarily tied with the Mi-Go. Since then, since your expedition, namely, and their return, we've tracked the events at the university, and we believe that you were pursued and attacked by these creatures. We believe that there must be something of significance if they would stir from their wooded hiding holes and venture into Arkham, so we believe you may know more about where they are. We suspect they're in Vermont. We don't know exactly where, and what I'm putting together is a team of people to go there, find them, and deal with them, ultimately.
So you want our help?
I think we each want one another's help.
Well, first and foremost, the man we brought with us, Trent, Jason Trent, or as he is correctly named, Robert Toons, from 18th century something or other, knows the location of their facility in the Vermont mountains. He's offered to lead us there. I don't trust him, but if you want to know where it is, well, I think we do have the information to give to you via this individual.
Very good. Very good.
As to your other requests, a man can stand to lose his father. He cannot stand to lose his inheritance. Those things tried to take my inheritance from me. So yes, I would like to see them eradicated from the face of the earth.
Very good. You're a fellow after my own heart. I think we'll work well together. What are the two of you then? Mr. Dedrick, Miss Wilkes?
Yes. Yeah, sorry. Yes. Yes, I'm in. Yes.
I think if you're putting a team together, it'd be a mistake not to have us on it.
Miss Wilkes is one of the brightest minds at Miskatonic University. She was the one who found some of the material and started making conclusions about what this thing is. She is an exemplary student and is able to make connections that others can't. And Mr. Dedrick is a formidable opponent on the field or off. And, let's just say, I don't think I'd be here if it were not for his capabilities. So, if they want to accompany this team, then I agree with Chaz. You would be stupid not to have them.
Very good then. High praise for each of you, and all in keeping with what we've looked into. You have survived the focused investigations and interaction targeted against them as the three of you have, so that already speaks to your credit. Ms. Wilkes?
I have a geologist's assessment of the mineral. I didn't have one for long, but I did some study on it. I can give you some information. I have, if you're scientists, I don't know, if yeah.
We may find a use for your own research, and you may wish to work with them if you choose. We have a sample sent back by Victor before he vanished, and we've done some research on it already. It's incredible.
Have you met one of these things?
Yes, it took my boy. And since then, I've come close to a few in my time, yes.
Do you have any, people on your team that are particularly good with, electrical circuitry mechanisms, that kind of thing?
I have every kind of expert on my team. They are the best.
Well then, there's let's call it a side project that I'm curious about, and I could use someone with electrical expertise.
Very good. I think perhaps we're getting ahead of ourselves, but it's all very good. Pleased to hear that you are excited and that you are keen to be involved in our little foray. Understand that things are still being planned and that we need to get a greater shape for the area. If we have an imposter with us, this fellow down the stairs who can possibly lead us to it, then we'll make good use of his information. We'll get you across the plan in time, but for now, I urge you to take control of this space here, rest up. You'll understand, I'm sure, that we can't let you return to your abode, not until this is all done. You'll be quartered here for the duration. Your recovery will be tended to, food, quartered, everything else, but we know, as you do, that those that go by themselves risk being taken, transformed, and turned into agents for the other side. So we cannot let you go. You have to stay here for the time being until everything is done. Ms. Wilkes?
Mr. Abelard, my sister is sick. She's in a hospital nearby. I can take someone with me. I don't need to go alone, but I want to see her if I can.
He holds up a hand to stop you, and he goes, "Your sister is safe. We have brought her here under our care, and we're giving her the best medicine that can be offered. We thought she might be needed to persuade you a little further to come alongside, but we're grateful to hear that you are already involved. She's being cared for, and you can see her when she wakes."
Okay. Great.
Are there any other concerns, or is this meeting done?
For now, we'll get a feel for the place.
Very
See
good.
what we think.
Make yourselves at home, get comfortable, rest up. We've got a long journey in front of us, and I need your minds and bodies sharp. Mr. Murdoch, we'll introduce you to Miss Preston. She can show you to your rooms, and you'll report to her for the time being. I have personal matters to tend to, and my attention cannot be divided. I'll leave you to your evening, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon. He begins to
I'm sure we
to
will.
leave.
Mr. Abelard. I don't know if this, I don't know if this helps. But it can be undone.
What are you referring to? The brain nonsense?
Because I'm assuming if they took his boy and he's like looked into it, he might have an idea of what they actually do, and that, like, Seb is more going like, if you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
then, and you may not already know this because you have not met one of the like insurgents, then I'm giving you maybe something to feel good about. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, oh well.
He stops in the doorway. He doesn't look back. You can see his like his clenched a little bit on the chair, and then he keeps pushing himself forward. He does not respond, but you do get the impression that he does know what you're referring to. Murdoch will introduce the three of you to Miss Selena Preston. She was the woman that you saw outside. She is Abelard's assistant. She also does a lot of the financial stuff with Federated Oil and Chemical, and she's very much across the Migo project, although she's more of a high-level everything than this particular thing, and she is your point of call for the foreseeable. Given that we're going to draw this session to a close shortly, we'll meet the rest of the team next session. But first, you are shown to your quarters. Each of you have a private room with an attached ensuite. There is a comfortable-looking bed, although they have been crammed into like office-sized spaces, so it's nice, but it's a bit jammed, and it's all still on the like office carpeting and things. When you go to the cupboards and draw them open, you will find that they are filled with like clothes in your approximate sizes and fairly accurate. You know, like it's not going to get, they're not custom tailored, but it's like, you know, if you're a large, it's in large kind of shaping. And there is also, you will find there is a small bell next to each bed. How do the three of you, what do you do once you're sort of alone in each of your rooms, making yourselves comfortable?
I am relieved. I am ecstatic. I am excited. I did really good work. I studied really hard, and the smart people noticed me and gave me a job. I made it, Ma.
You've got an internship.
Exactly. It's great.
Hell yeah. Chaz?
Case the joint. Look for any like little hidey holes, any hidden microphones. It doesn't like this. It doesn't love it. All right. It's not gonna let them think that they've got one up on him. This Chaz is smart.
You have a look around your room. There's no microphones. We're a bit before that tech, to be honest. But as you leave the door, when you open the door and go outside for a moment and look up and down the corridor, there's like a guard seated not far and kind of watching. You go for a short walk around and you get to the fire escape, and you realize that the door's kept locked, so that you can't really come and go that way. And when you head to the elevator, which goes up or down, there's another person watching there. You head back to your room. The windows have all been blacked out so that you can kind of see from the inside, but you wouldn't be able to see from outside. And when you like push against the glass, it's very solid, like it would not break easily. And when you look down, it's a long drop to the ground below. You would very much get the impression that this is well, they can keep you here if they want to.
Yeah, all right. They can think that.
Mm-hmm.
They can think that.
Okay. Seb?
Seb will head into his room. The doors, do they have locks on them for privacy? Or?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so he goes in, he locks his door.
They're just the ones that you can lock from inside. You don't have a personal key, but you can lock it from inside while you're in there.
Fishes out the key for his trunk.
Mm-hmm.
Clicks that open, opens it up, pulls out an envelope and just like a stack of books. Flicks open the envelope, and inside is a heavy key and the same note that says, "My name is Sebastian McCarthy. My parents' names are Irene and Amos. This is not the way out." And then he cracks the spine of nameless cults and starts to read.
Oh, fuck yeah. Awesome. So as the three of you get comfortable, or as comfortable as you can in the rooms, making them a little more comfortable, you think you might be here for a little while, you can begin to recover. Outside, the plan is put together for the further investigation of Vermont and the sounds. Somewhere in the building, Violet Wilkes is being cared for, and there are other investigations and notes of research being done, which we'll get a chance to look at next time. But something to leave us with is not long after the three of you retire, Peter Murdoch is standing with Abelard, and Selena Preston, the assistant, comes in and passes him a note. She leans down and whispers in his ear, she says, "I think we might have found one." And he takes the note. The stamp has been sent from Canada, and when he opens it up, it is reports of possible Migo activity not far across the border, which will soon need to be investigated. But we'll pick all of that up next session for A Time to Harvest.
Hooray!
Fantastic.
Crackerjack. All right. So that was session 1, chapter 3, and we're doing a giveaway. So Jim, do you want to push some buttons and
Absolutely.
Well, it's the last
Exclamation mark harvest.
Give everyone
give
a
him.
hot 20 seconds before we say the words, and then you push the button because there is a delay on stream.
Thank
30
you.
more seconds. Last chance to type in exclamation harvest into chat in order to win the goddamn PDF copy of the campaign.
Thank you, Jackson. That's excellent. Exclamation mark harvest. I love it. It looks so good on the view. Okay, brilliant, everybody.
I think that's enough time.
That sounds
If you
like
haven't typed it
enough
now,
time.
you're too damn slow.
All right, and for giving away a PDF copy of A Time to Harvest, have all of these same adventures, we now go. Here we are.
Pink.
And the winner is
I'm Sprinkles.
Sprinkles.
Congratulations, I'm Sprinkles.
Congratulations, I'm Sprinkles. We'll be in touch with you using Twitch's Whisper feature, and we will talk to you about how you can get your PDF. Thank you again for joining us, and I'll pass back to Dave, but stay tuned because more giveaways will happen in the weeks to come.
That's one. So yeah, thank you, Sprinkles. We'll reach out to you via DMs, as Jim said, and we will be back next week to continue Chapter 3 of A Time to Harvest. In the meantime, we have the RuneQuest campaign, which has begun recently, which
Really
will
good
be
fun.
hell yes.
Check
The
it out.
first YouTube episode will be going up. What are we here? It's always timing. Tomorrow, wherever you are, it's tomorrow. So I think Saturday in most of the world. So check that out, and then join us next Monday as we play episode 2, and then we'll be back with this in the following. So thanks all
Where
for
there will
playing.
be a giveaway, by the way.
Monday for the Americans, Tuesday morning for the not Americans.
For the Aussies. Yes, and that's right, Jim. We are doing a giveaway of the PDF version of the starter set during next week's RuneQuest campaign as well. So check that out because it's flippin' sweet.
This is free stuff.
It's pretty sweet. All right. Thanks y'all for playing, and thank you everyone for
Thanks,
watching.
Dave.
We'll see you later.